Welcome back, Lincoln Currency. Imagine holding a tiny copper coin in your hand, something so small and ordinary that most people wouldn't even bend down to pick it up from the sidewalk. But what if I told you that one of those little 2,000 Lincoln cents, yes, the same coin you might toss into a jar or drop between your car seats, could actually be worth up to $85 million today? Sounds unbelievable, right? But that's the mysterious and fascinating story of the 2000 USA 1-cent coin, a piece of modern American currency that has shocked collectors, experts, and historians alike with its hidden value, rare minting errors, and deep symbolism that traces the legacy of Abraham Lincoln and the evolution of the U.S. Mint itself. Today, we're diving deep into the world of this humble yet extraordinary coin, exploring everything from its weight and design to its production secrets, and the reasons why some of them are worth more than the average person could ever imagine. The year 2000 was more than just a number. It was a milestone, the dawn of a new millennium. Technology was advancing faster than ever, the internet was becoming a part of everyday life, and people were fascinated with anything connected to the new century. Yet, in the midst of all that modern energy, the U.S. Mint continued to produce one of the country's most traditional and recognizable coins, the Lincoln cent. This penny, weighing 2.5 grams and made primarily of zinc with a thin copper plating, carried the same design that Americans had seen for decades: the image of President Abraham Lincoln on the obverse and the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse. But what made the 2000 penny unique wasn't just the date. It was the story behind how it was minted, how certain rare variations came to be, and how those small mistakes in the minting process turned into million-dollar treasures for the lucky few who discovered them. The coin bears the familiar "In God We Trust" motto arched above Lincoln's head, a reminder of the nation's enduring belief system, while the word "Liberty" sits proudly to the left of the portrait. Just beside Lincoln's shoulder, the date, 2000, is struck, a clean and simple marker of time that seems ordinary until you realize that in the vast world of numismatics, even the smallest difference in a date's alignment or appearance can create an entirely new classification of rarity. Some of these 2000 pennies carry mint marks like D for Denver or P for Philadelphia, indicating where they were produced. These tiny letters hold massive significance, as each mint has its own production quirks, equipment conditions, and error types that make every batch slightly different from another. Now, to most people, the 2000 penny looks identical to any other. You could pour 1,000 of them into your palm and not notice a single difference at first glance. But experts and coin hunters with keen eyes have identified certain versions of this coin that possess unique traits that send their market value skyrocketing. One of the most sought after among collectors is the 2000 wide AM variety. This particular coin features an unusual spacing between the letters A and M in the word America on the reverse side. While most pennies from 2000 have the letters touching or nearly touching, this special variant shows a distinct gap, a mistake resulting from the use of an older proof die. This wide AM error was never meant to reach circulation, but somehow, a small number of them did. These rare survivors became instant legends among collectors, some selling for thousands, tens of thousands, and in some reported private auctions, unbelievable but real, even over $1 million depending on condition, mint state, and certification. But the story doesn't stop there. Every tiny imperfection, every faint double strike, off-center punch, or die crack can drastically change the value of a 2000 penny. The coin's weight, 2.5 grams, might seem like just a number, but it's one of the first details coin graders check when authenticating these valuable specimens. If a penny weighs slightly more or less than that, it could indicate an incorrect planchet, a blank metal disc used before striking, which means it might have been struck on the wrong material. Imagine a 2000 penny accidentally minted on a dime planchet, or even on a foreign coin's metal base. Those oddities can turn an ordinary cent into a six-figure fortune. There have been authenticated examples of 2000 pennies struck on steel planchets, aluminum pieces, and even on brass blanks left over from earlier decades, each commanding enormous prices in the private collector market. And then there's the design, timeless yet deeply symbolic. The obverse portrait of Lincoln was originally designed by Victor David Brenner in 1909, marking the centennial of Lincoln's birth. Over 100 years later, his face still graces the coin, a tribute not only to his leadership but also to his lasting influence on American history. Look closely at his expression, calm, determined, reflective. Brenner intended it that way, crafting Lincoln's image to represent strength under pressure and moral conviction. On the reverse side, designed by Frank Gasparo, stands the Lincoln Memorial, a powerful symbol of unity and remembrance. Hidden within that tiny monument, if you look closely enough, you can actually see the faint figure of Lincoln seated inside, just as he appears in the real-life monument in Washington, D.C. It's a detail so subtle that most people never notice it without magnification, but it's a feature that adds to the coin's artistry. And the story of the 2001-cent coin doesn't just rest in its design or its visible errors. It lies deep inside the layers of how and why it was made, the technology that shaped it, and the accidents that turned ordinary metal into priceless rarity. Every coin begins its life as a blank, a small circular piece of metal called a planchet. Before 1982, those planchets were made from nearly pure copper, but by the year 2000, the U.S. Mint had fully shifted to zinc planchets coated in a whisper-thin layer of copper. The change wasn't simply aesthetic or symbolic, it was economical. Producing billions of coins each year meant every fraction of a cent in material cost mattered. The copper-plated zinc planchet weighed 2.5 grams, a perfect balance between cost efficiency and minting practicality. Yet, as cost efficiency increased, the room for minting errors widened. Zinc's softness made it vulnerable to microscopic cracking, gas bubbles, and pressure inconsistencies. These imperfections, almost invisible to the naked eye, became the foundation for the rarest 2,000 pennies in existence. Imagine the chaos inside the U.S. Mint at full operation. Massive presses slamming down at over 100 strikes per minute, each one imprinting Lincoln's iconic face on a fresh planchet. The noise, the heat, the rhythm, it's an industrial symphony. In that environment, even a minor misalignment or die fatigue could create anomalies. Some coins were struck slightly off-center, leaving crescent-shaped blank edges. Others doubled their impressions when the die bounced unexpectedly, giving the appearance of ghosted lettering or doubled dates. These are the doubled die errors, among the most coveted types in coin collecting. A doubled 2000 or a slightly shadowed Liberty can turn what looks like a common penny into a once-in-a-lifetime discovery. The reverse side adds its own level of fascination. The Lincoln Memorial design, though standardized, was never immune to tiny differences in die polishing or wear. The columns of the memorial might appear thinner, thicker, or unevenly defined depending on how the die aged. Some coins from the 2000 batch show faint cracks running through the memorial, while others feature light die chips near the roof lines, all subtle indicators that distinguish one minting batch from another. Collectors love those details because they help trace the life story of each coin, from the day it left the press to the moment someone found it in change. A coin's condition tells its journey: scratches from vending machines, toning from years in circulation, or sometimes the perfect luster of a coin that somehow escaped all human touch. Now picture this: a coin produced in Denver in early 2000, struck with a slightly misaligned die, resulting in a faint doubling of Lincoln's profile. It slips through quality control, rolls into circulation, and spends years being used for groceries, bus fares, and coffee tips. Decades later, a collector finds it in a pile of spare change, shines a flashlight on it, and realizes it's something special. That moment, the instant realization that you're holding a rare piece of history, is indescribable. It's as if time freezes, the weight of the penny suddenly feels heavier, and your heart races with possibility. This is why coin collecting isn't just a hobby, it's an adventure through the fabric of time, economy, and human history. When we talk about the 2000 Lincoln cent's supposed value of $85 million, it's not about a standard, government-listed worth. It's about rarity amplified by story, desire, and myth. In the numismatic world, stories travel fast. A single report of an ultra-rare discovery can ignite global frenzy. Sometimes private collectors, driven by competition, inflate these values to unimaginable levels. They're not buying a penny, they're buying the feeling of owning something nobody else has. The 2000 cent has become a symbol of that obsession. Online forums buzz with tales of people finding wide AM variants, doubled dies, or strange planchet errors and selling them for enormous sums. Whether every claim holds true or not doesn't matter. The legend of the 2000 penny has already cemented itself in collector folklore. Let's dig deeper into the wide AM and close AM mystery, because it's one of the defining characteristics that make the 2000 cent so famous. The term refers to the spacing between the letters A and M in the word America on the reverse. Normally, business strike coins, those meant for circulation, have the A and M touching or nearly touching, known as close AM. Proof coins, specially minted for collectors, have a visible gap, the wide AM. In 2000, a mix-up occurred. Some proof dies were mistakenly used on regular circulation presses. The result? A tiny fraction of the entire year's mintage carries that wide gap. If you look closely, it's subtle but clear, a small breath of space that separates the rare from the common. That single detail can change the coin's worth from 1 cent to thousands, and in extreme mint state conditions, potentially tens or hundreds of thousands. The real journey of the 2001 cent coin begins long before it ever reaches the public. Deep inside the secure walls of the U.S. Mint, where machinery hums like a heartbeat of industry, metal is transformed into history. Sheets of zinc arrive by the ton, each one destined to become thousands of tiny discs. They are rolled, punched, and plated with a copper layer barely thick enough to give them their signature reddish glow. Every spark, every clang of steel on metal, is part of an endless rhythm that has continued for generations. Yet even in this world of mechanical precision, imperfection is inevitable, and that's where the magic begins. Somewhere between the precision of the dies and the speed of the presses, tiny miracles of error are born, and they become the rare treasures that collectors chase for the rest of their lives. The year 2000 was special for the Mint. It represented stability after decades of technological evolution. Computers now controlled much of the process, ensuring quality and consistency. But technology, for all its precision, can sometimes preserve mistakes instead of eliminating them. A single miscalibrated sensor, an unnoticed die swap, or a momentary pressure fluctuation could create a minting anomaly that slips quietly through inspection. One such anomaly led to the creation of the now legendary 2000 wide AM variety. For collectors, that single space between two letters became a symbol of chance, the idea that perfection is boring, but imperfection, when rare enough, becomes priceless. To understand how the 2000 cent reached mythical status, you have to step into the mindset of coin collectors, known as numismatists. They are detectives of history, explorers of detail, dreamers with magnifying glasses. They study every contour, every reflection, and every microscopic scratch to decode the story a coin tells. For them, a 2000 penny isn't just copper-plated zinc, it's a fingerprint of an era. The texture of its surface tells how the die was polished. The color of its tone reveals how it aged. Some have a golden hue from years in warm pockets, others a deep red luster that screams of mint freshness. Those shades, red, red-brown, and brown, are even used officially in grading because they show how time has kissed the metal. The purest red ones, untouched by air, command the highest value. They are the youth of the minting world, forever frozen in the moment they were born. Collectors love to imagine where their coins have been. A 2000 penny could have been used in a convenience store in New York on January 1st, the first sunrise of the new millennium. Another could have passed through countless hands: bus drivers, waitresses, schoolchildren, soldiers, travelers, carrying with it silent witness to human life. Each coin becomes a traveler through time, absorbing invisible stories that add to its mystique. And yet, amid billions of such travelers, only a handful carry the genetic code of rarity. A slight die shift here, a misplaced mint mark there, a difference in spacing that changes everything. Auction houses love those stories. When a rare 2000 wide AM penny appears, certified in perfect mint state by PCGS or NGC, the tension in the auction hall is electric. The coin sits under bright lights, magnified on a screen for the audience to see every line and gleam. Bidders raise their paddles cautiously at first, but as the numbers climb, excitement takes over. Two determined collectors lock eyes across the room, each unwilling to surrender. The bidding passes 10,000, 20,000, 50,000. Whispers ripple through the crowd. Could this be the one that sets a new record? When the hammer finally falls, applause breaks out, not just for the winner but for the story that has just been written. Every sale adds another chapter to the legend of the 2,000 cent, pushing its perceived value higher and higher until it crosses into the realm of the unbelievable. Now imagine that somewhere, one single coin exists beyond all others, the perfect storm of rarity, condition, and error. It has the wide AM spacing, a flawless surface, a deep original red color, and a mirrored finish caused by an overpolished die. It sits sealed in a slab, graded mint state 70, the absolute pinnacle. Only one of its kind. A private collector, perhaps a billionaire or a historical foundation, learns of it and decides it must be acquired at any cost. Offers pour in quietly, in private, outside the public auctions. 8 million. 20 million. 50 million. And then, an extraordinary $85 million, not for its metal, not for its face value, but for what it represents, the perfect accident of modern minting. That's how legends are born, through the fusion of fact, rumor, passion, and imagination. But value isn't always measured in price. For some collectors, a coin's worth lies in its mystery. The 2,000 penny became a symbol of hidden potential, a reminder that treasures might still be sitting unnoticed in everyday life. Across America, people began checking their pocket change again, magnifying glasses in hand, hearts racing with the thought that a single coin could change their lives. Coin roll hunters, collectors who buy entire boxes of pennies from banks to search through, began focusing intensely on the 2000 series. Hours, days, even years were spent combing through rolls, searching for that elusive wide AM or double die. Every discovery, no matter how small, was celebrated like a miracle. For many, the search itself became an addiction, a way of connecting with history, a way of finding purpose and patience. Meanwhile, the coin market evolved. The rise of online platforms made trading easier, but it also created myths. Social media posts and viral videos claimed certain 2,000 pennies sold for tens of millions, sometimes exaggerating real stories for views. Yet, in doing so, they fueled a global fascination. Even people who had never collected coins before began digging through jars and drawers. That surge of curiosity injected new life into the world of numismatics. Suddenly, the 2,000 penny wasn't just an object, it was a cultural phenomenon. It became the face of modern coin collecting obsession, the idea that anyone, anywhere, could stumble upon unimaginable fortune in something so ordinary. Behind that fascination lies a quieter truth: the artistry and engineering that go into each penny are extraordinary. The dies used to strike the 2,000 cents were crafted with laser precision. Every curve of Lincoln's face, every shadow in the memorial, was sculpted through decades of refinement. The die's surface had to endure thousands of tons of pressure without cracking. When the pressure of each strike hit, molten soft metal flowed into every corner of the design, capturing microscopic details invisible to the naked eye. The alignment between the obverse and reverse had to be perfect, or else the coin would show rotation, another type of error collectors secretly hope for. In that controlled violence of metal meeting metal, the soul of the coin was born. It's easy to forget that coins are miniature works of sculpture. Brenner's portrait of Lincoln is more than a likeness, it's an emotional study of character. The way his jaw sets firm, the subtle crease between his brows, the glint of resolve in his eyes, all carved in a space smaller than an inch across. The Lincoln Memorial on the back mirrors that dignity. Its symmetry, columns, and hidden statue within remind Americans of resilience and unity. When you hold a 2,000 penny, you're holding art, history, and technology fused into one. Every coin has a pulse. You can't hear it, but you can feel it when you study it long enough. The 2001 cent piece carries the heartbeat of a turning century. It was born in an age when people feared computer clocks might collapse as the world entered the year 2000, when the idea of a new millennium filled the air with electricity and uncertainty. Inside the U.S. Mint, however, the rhythm never faltered. Machines struck billions of pennies, and among them, a handful that would one day be whispered about in auction rooms and online forums. Each strike echoed against the steel walls like a countdown to discovery, a metallic heartbeat marking the first year of a new era. Picture one of those coins sliding down a chute after minting, still warm from the force of the die, its surface shimmering under factory lights. It tumbles into a bin with thousands of others, indistinguishable, its destiny still hidden. From there it will travel through armored trucks, banks, and hands. Some will vanish in vending machines, others in parking meters or piggy banks. But one of them, just one, will carry the microscopic difference that sets it apart forever. It might be a wide AM variety, or a double die, or a Ms. Planchet strike, but whatever it is, that tiny imperfection will become its miracle. The rest of the world will see an ordinary penny. A collector will see a legend. By the time the first stories about the 2000 cents rarity began to spread, an entire generation of collectors had already grown up hunting earlier Lincoln varieties. The 1955 double die, the 1969 S, the 1992 close AM. They knew that lightning sometimes strikes twice in the same place, that the mint, for all its precision, could still let magic slip through. When the first confirmed 2000 wide AM appeared, the numismatic community erupted with excitement. Photographs circulated, experts verified the spacing of the letters, and suddenly the date, 2000, became a rallying cry for every coin hunter in America. People raided coin jars, emptied their pockets, begged cashiers to exchange rolls. Banks couldn't keep up with the sudden demand for penny boxes. A quiet revolution was underway, one driven by magnifiers and patience. The beauty of this story lies in how ordinary people became explorers. Teachers, truck drivers, students, retirees, all united by the same goal: to find that one coin that might change their lives. They watched videos explaining the spacing of the letters in America, compared the designer's initials near the base of the memorial, and studied photos of genuine examples from collectors who had struck gold. Every night, living rooms turned into laboratories. People spread pennies across tables under desk lamps, the sound of coins clinking softly like rainfall. Somewhere among the copper and zinc, they hoped, an $85 million miracle was waiting. But there's another side to this tale: the world of experts who dedicate their lives to authenticating these tiny treasures. Professional graders spend hours examining coins under microscopes, looking for luster, strike quality, die condition, and color preservation. When a 2000 wide AM arrives in a grading office, it's handled like a gemstone. Gloves are worn, air is filtered, and every measurement is recorded with meticulous care. If the coin is genuine and uncirculated, it is sealed in a clear plastic holder with a barcode and a serial number, forever preserved as part of numismatic history. Those sealed coins become modern relics, proof that human error, when captured and confirmed, can turn the smallest object into a priceless artifact. The 2000 penny also sits at a philosophical crossroads. For decades, debates have raged about whether the United States should even continue producing 1-cent coins. Economists argue that they cost more to make than they're worth, that they slow commerce, that they belong to another age. Yet, every time the debate resurfaces, something like the 2000 cent emerges to remind everyone that value isn't always rational. It's emotional. The penny endures because it's more than currency, it's a piece of identity. Abraham Lincoln's quiet face on its surface is a moral anchor, a symbol of integrity and endurance. When people hold a penny, they hold the story of a nation that once struggled through civil war and emerged united. That weight, emotional and historical, gives the coin a permanence no spreadsheet can erase. The legend of the $85 million 2000 cent grew partly because of that sentiment. When collectors or media outlets mention such astronomical numbers, they're not just quoting a sale, they're describing a feeling. The idea that something so small could be worth a fortune captures imaginations. It reminds people that chance still exists in a world that often feels predictable. The story travels faster than any fact sheet ever could. Children hear it from their parents, news sites repeat it, and soon the myth becomes part of the coin's identity. That myth keeps the search alive. Because if one coin can break logic, then maybe luck still walks among us. Behind every myth, though, lies truth, and the truth is even more fascinating. The U.S. Mint records show how production in 2000 reached staggering numbers, over 14 billion cents between Philadelphia and Denver. Out of that sea of copper-plated zinc, only a handful of wide AM varieties are known. Statistically, the odds of finding one are nearly impossible. But history has proven that impossible doesn't mean never. In basements and attics, in coffee cans and cash drawers, new discoveries still happen. That hope is the heartbeat of coin collecting, the belief that rarity is waiting quietly in plain sight. Collectors often talk about the moment of realization. It's when you tilt a coin under the light and see something that doesn't match the pictures in your head. Maybe the spacing of letters looks wrong, maybe the memorial steps have an odd shadow, maybe the date looks doubled. In that instant, adrenaline floods your body. You check again and again, your hands trembling. The world narrows to the space between your eyes and the coin. When confirmation comes, when you know it's real, the feeling is indescribable. It's discovery, validation, and wonder all at once. That's the emotional core of every story behind the 2000 penny, the human heartbeat meeting the metal heartbeat. The design itself contributes to that emotional connection. Lincoln's portrait, facing right, is the only presidential profile on U.S. coins that faces opposite the others. That wasn't an accident. Brenner intentionally turned him toward the future. The direction symbolizes progress and moral strength. On the 2000 cent, that symbolism resonates more deeply than ever, the first year of a new millennium, Lincoln gazing forward as if watching the next 100 years unfold. On the reverse, the Lincoln Memorial mirrors that forward-looking calm. Its lines are perfectly symmetrical, a temple to democracy cast in miniature. When struck perfectly, its columns catch the light like glass, and deep within them, the faint-seated figure of Lincoln watches over everything. No other coin carries such a direct dialogue between both sides of its design, face and monument, man and memory. When you stare long enough at a single coin, something strange happens. You begin to see time inside it. The metal remembers everything, the heat that shaped it, the pressure that defined it, the hands that passed it, and the pockets it traveled through. The 2001 cent coin carries those silent memories like a diary without words. If it could speak, it would tell stories of gas stations, grocery counters, lunch tables, and forgotten jars. Each scratch on its surface would be a sentence, each tone of wear a whisper from another life. And yet, out of these billions of humble survivors, a few shine like secrets too bright to remain hidden. The 2000 wide AM is one of them, a microscopic slip of perfection that turned into legend. Collectors often describe finding one as a moment of destiny. There is something otherworldly about pulling an ordinary penny from a pile and realizing that you're holding a mistake so rare that experts can count the known examples on one hand. That instant erases distance and time. You could be anywhere in the world, but you're suddenly standing inside the story of American minting itself. It's like catching a glimpse of lightning trapped in copper. The design looks the same as every other penny, but the spacing of the letters in America reveals a different die, a small misalignment that changes everything. The discovery moment doesn't just reward patience, it validates curiosity. It proves that even in a world built on mass production, individuality still finds a way to exist. The 2000 cent represents a bridge between centuries. Before it came the final echoes of the 20th century, the 1990s, a decade of optimism and transition. After it, the early 2000s brought new fears, digital revolutions, and political changes. But in that narrow space between eras, the 2000 penny was struck, a coin of continuity. Its surface still bore the same portrait first engraved in 1909, yet its birth belonged to the digital millennium. That contradiction gives it depth. It is ancient and modern at once, a relic that refuses to age. The minting technology had evolved. The dies were created using computerized engraving and laser scanning. Yet the spirit remained analog, handcrafted in every curve of Lincoln's profile. It's as if technology bowed to tradition for one final moment before racing ahead. Inside the U.S. Mint that year, the rhythm of production was relentless. Philadelphia and Denver together produced billions of cents, their presses pounding day and night in perfect synchronization. Workers moved like dancers in a mechanical ballet, each motion timed to the hum of conveyor belts and the clatter of metal. The smell of lubricants and heated copper filled the air. Somewhere in that controlled chaos, a single die was replaced incorrectly, the wrong reverse paired with the right obverse. It was a human moment, a fraction of a second's oversight, but that single act would create one of the most valuable pennies in existence. It's almost poetic that human imperfection could generate something worth more than perfection itself. The chemistry of the coin also tells a quiet story. The core, made of zinc, is soft and reactive. The copper plating, thin as a breath, protects it from corrosion, but also allows the metal to mirror the world around it. Under bright light, it reflects golden tones. In shadow, it glows red. Over time, exposure to air gives it darker hues, oranges, browns, purples, each one a new layer of history. Some collectors argue that this living color makes the coin feel alive, as if it continues to age like a living organism. In a way, it does. Every fingerprint, every grain of dust, every temperature change alters its skin slightly, leaving behind invisible traces of human contact. By 2000, the penny had already survived nearly a century of debate. Lawmakers questioned its utility, economists doubted its worth, yet Americans kept it close. Parents still dropped them into fountains, children still pressed them into railroad tracks, tourists still pinched them into souvenirs at amusement parks. The coin had transcended currency, it had become culture. When the story of the $85 million penny reached the public imagination, it didn't just ignite a hunt, it rekindled love for something people thought they'd outgrown. Suddenly, everyone wanted to look again, to check again, to believe again that luck might find them in the smallest of places. In that shared search lies a kind of unity. Collecting has always been about connection, to history, to craftsmanship, to each other. The 2000 cent embodies that connection perfectly. Forums filled with photographs, grainy magnified shots of letters and lines. People posted their finds from garages and kitchens asking, "Is this the one?" Experts replied, teaching patiently, explaining how the wide AM differs from the closed AM of standard issues. The conversation became a classroom open to the world, with curiosity as the common language. Every time a new discovery was confirmed, it felt like a communal victory, not just for the finder, but for everyone who still believes that hidden wonders exist. But beyond community lies the market, and in that market, stories like this take on a life of their own. The first certified 2000 wide AM sold for thousands, then tens of thousands, then rumors spread of an uncirculated example valued beyond comprehension. Somewhere, in private collections or bank vaults, a coin could theoretically reach that legendary $85 million mark, not because of intrinsic material value, but because of symbolic power. A rare penny is a paradox. It is simultaneously the lowest and highest denomination of human imagination. Its worth is measured not in metal but in meaning. Auction rooms have felt the electricity of this phenomenon. When such a coin appears, silence falls over the crowd. Collectors grip their paddles tighter, cameras flash. Every bid feels like a heartbeat. It isn't just about ownership, it's about touching immortality. Whoever wins knows they're not just buying a coin, they're buying a story that will outlive them. And when the hammer finally drops, the applause that follows isn't for wealth, it's for wonder. There's a strange kind of silence that follows discovery, the kind that makes the air feel heavier, like the world itself has paused to listen. That's the silence collectors talk about when they find something extraordinary. Imagine it, the faint clink of coins as you sift through a roll, the hum of a small lamp on the table, and then, something catches your eye. A glint, a shadow, a letter slightly wider than it should be. Time freezes. Your breath catches. You tilt the coin under the light once, twice, and there it is, the unmistakable gap between the A and the M in America. The realization hits you like a wave. The coin in your palm, worth 1 cent to the rest of the world, could be worth millions. That single moment rewrites your understanding of luck, effort, and fate. Every great coin story begins with such a moment. For the 2000 USA cent, those moments have multiplied through the years. Some happen in quiet kitchens, others in coin shows buzzing with chatter and magnifiers clicking open and shut. The people who experience them are not all wealthy numismatists. Many are ordinary people with extraordinary patience. A retired mechanic in Ohio once spent weeks sorting through jars his father left behind. When he spotted a 2000 penny that looked odd, he sent it for grading, and months later the letter came back confirming what he dared not believe: a genuine wide AM. Another story tells of a young student who used a penny from his lunch change to show his class the difference between copper tones under light. His teacher noticed something strange and encouraged him to have it checked. That coin became a centerpiece of a local museum display. These are not fairy tales. They're fragments of human devotion to detail. To hold a 2000 wide AM penny is to hold an accident turned into art. It's an object born from precision's brief failure, and yet that failure gave it eternal value. That's one of the greatest paradoxes in numismatics: the idea that imperfection creates perfection. Somewhere inside the mint, perhaps a machine operator replaced a die too early or too late. Perhaps a single reverse die from the proof production line was accidentally installed for circulation coins. Whatever the cause, it was a fleeting misalignment of procedure that created a timeless wonder. For one coin, or a few thousand at most, history bent slightly off course, and that curve became beauty. Collectors don't just collect, they chase emotion. The thrill of pursuit, the satisfaction of study, the peace of holding something that links you to every collector who ever lived, that's the real treasure. The 2000 penny feeds that emotion perfectly. It's not gold, not silver, not even a rare alloy, but it possesses something far rarer: mystery. You can't see rarity when it's sitting in a pile of ordinary cents, but once revealed, it glows with invisible light. That glow isn't from copper, it's from possibility itself. Think of how many hands this coin might have passed through before being recognized. A barista may have given it as change, a child might have dropped it on a school floor, a cashier might have counted it without a glance. It could have spent years buried in a purse or rattling in a car cup holder. Then one day, someone finally noticed what no one else did, and that's the miracle of perception. The world is full of unnoticed wonders, and this coin is proof that value exists everywhere, waiting for eyes that care enough to look. In the years since 2000, the story of this penny has taken on a life beyond numismatics. Articles, TV shows, YouTube documentaries, and collector forums have all tried to capture its essence. Some exaggerate the value, others analyze the details. All agree on one thing: it's a phenomenon. The rumor of an $85 million value may sound impossible, but that number symbolizes something larger than money. It represents hope, the human craving to believe that even the smallest object can hold infinite potential. It's the same reason people dig for fossils, study stars, or collect stamps. They're all searching for meaning in matter. The design of the 2000 penny adds to that emotional pull. The sculpted face of Abraham Lincoln is timeless, calm, and resolute. The lines of his jaw, the curve of his cheek, the deep-set eyes, all carved by Victor David Brenner almost a century earlier, yet still commanding reverence. In that quiet face lives the memory of a man who preserved a nation. Every time the mint strikes a new Lincoln cent, it's striking more than metal, it's striking history itself. When you hold that penny, you're holding a tribute to endurance, equality, and unity, principles Lincoln embodied and America continues to chase. The reverse side, featuring the Lincoln Memorial, mirrors that theme of reflection. Look closely, and you can see a tiny seated Lincoln within the columns, a detail so small most people never notice it. Yet it's there, watching from his marble chair, inside the miniature temple. That detail turns the coin into a story within a story, a symbol within a symbol. It's art that speaks without words. When you add the element of rarity, the wrong die, the wide spacing, the mysterious origin, the coin transforms from currency into poetry. It becomes a moment of human imperfection captured inside a nation's most enduring design, What makes the 2000 penny even more fascinating is how it bridges generations of collectors. Older hobbyists who began during the 1950s and 60s see it as part of a living continuum, a modern heir to the doubled dies and transitional eras of the past. Younger collectors, raised on digital tools, see it as a challenge, a puzzle to solve, a mystery to decode under microscopes and macro lenses. The old and new meet in the same fascination. The coin doesn't care about age, class, or technology. It speaks the universal language of curiosity. Over time, numismatists have catalogued the varieties of this coin meticulously. The wide AM shows a distinct separation between the letters A and M, unlike the closed AM found on most 2000 cents. In addition, the designer's initials, FG, for Frank Gasparo, appear farther from the memorial base than usual. These minute differences, invisible to casual observers, become keys that unlock immense value. When you understand how to read them, the coin world opens like a secret library. Every die mark, every alignment, every faint doubling is a page in a grand story written in metal. And yet, beyond technical fascination, there's emotion, the deep, inexplicable connection people form with small things. A coin this tiny, this simple, can carry the weight of dreams. The idea that something worth 1 cent could become a fortune speaks to every person who has ever struggled, hoped, or worked for something more. It's a reminder that greatness doesn't come from size or power, it comes from chance, from persistence, from noticing what others overlooked. In this way, the 2000 penny has become more than a collectible, it's become a metaphor. A symbol of hidden worth. It teaches us that even the smallest acts, a moment of curiosity, a second glance, a spark of care, can change everything. It tells the story of America in miniature, a place where even the humblest beginnings can lead to unimaginable heights. Perhaps that's why the penny refuses to disappear from circulation despite economic logic. It remains because it means something. Some collectors dream not just of owning one, but of finding one themselves, the ultimate reward for patience and persistence. And somewhere out there, perhaps in a forgotten jar or an old wallet, another 2000 wide AM waits to be discovered. The thought of that possibility keeps the hobby alive. It fuels late nights under desk lamps, the rhythmic sound of coins sliding through fingers, the quiet anticipation that the next coin might be the one. It's not just collecting, it's storytelling through metal. So when you think of that $85 million figure, don't just see a price tag. See it as a reflection of how much wonder and imagination people have poured into this coin. Its true worth lies not in the marketplace, but in the way it moves hearts. The fact that billions of identical coins exist but one or two can inspire the world, that's the essence of meaning. That's the soul of the 2001 cent piece. Every obsession begins quietly. At first it's just curiosity, a casual glance, a small question. Then it deepens, and before you know it, you're part of a movement that spans decades. That's how the story of the 2000 USA 1 cent coin spread, a whisper in collector forums that grew into a thunderstorm across the world. A rumor that a penny could be worth $85 million sounded absurd, almost laughable. But it didn't matter. People wanted to believe it, because it meant that miracles still existed, that fortune could still hide in the folds of the ordinary. From the moment that rumor touched the internet, everything changed. Search engines filled with questions about wide AM pennies. Pawnshops saw people walking in with plastic bags of coins, asking to have them checked. Banks noticed customers withdrawing rolls of cents by the hundreds. Kids sat with magnifying glasses and grandparents side by side, sorting through change as though panning for gold. It became a ritual of hope, the act of looking, the possibility that this might be the day when destiny hides inside a handful of metal. What fascinates historians is not just the coin itself, but the culture that grew around it. Before the 2000 penny became famous, numismatics was a quiet hobby, known mostly among specialists. But after its legend spread, it became a global curiosity. You didn't have to be a collector to care, you just had to have a coin jar. News outlets covered stories of rare cents selling for thousands. YouTube channels filmed reactions of people discovering wide AM varieties under magnification. Social media turned the penny into a modern treasure hunt. The beauty of that hunt lies in its accessibility. Anyone can participate. There's no barrier, no expensive equipment required, only patience and attention. It's the democratization of discovery, proof that you don't need wealth to chase wonder. That's why the 2000 penny became symbolic beyond its metal composition. It became a lesson in awareness, a reminder that value doesn't announce itself. You have to notice it. As years passed, collectors began to notice subtle patterns. Most of the known wide AM examples came from the Philadelphia Mint, though a few whispers of Denver minted oddities persisted. Theories formed. Some believed a reverse die meant for proof coins had accidentally been used for circulation strikes. Others suggested that the mint had intentionally produced a few varieties as tests. The mystery deepened with every new theory. Each explanation opened more questions. But that uncertainty kept the story alive. The 2000 cent wasn't just a coin anymore. It was a puzzle that refused to be solved. Inside the world of professional grading, the coin holds a special aura. Experts at PCGS, NGC, and Annex often described the feeling of seeing one for the first time under a microscope. The precision of the strike, the flawless sheen of an uncirculated surface, the perfect separation of A and M, it's enough to make even seasoned graders pause in admiration. When one is authenticated, it becomes part of a very short, elite list. Each example is photographed, documented, encapsulated, and traced like a piece of history. Their auction appearances are rare events, and every time one crosses the block, collectors hold their breath. The $85 million myth grew out of these moments. It wasn't about the real auction price, which, while impressive, was never near that figure. It was about imagination. The number symbolized what people felt the coin was worth, emotionally. To them, it represented possibility, the priceless feeling of finding something no one else has. It's not the dollars that matter, it's the dream behind them. There's a famous story about a man who carried a 2000 penny in his wallet for 20 years. He found it at a bus stop, just an ordinary coin lying on the ground. He kept it not for its monetary worth, but because he liked the idea that something so small could mean so much. When he finally had it checked by a collector friend, they discovered it was indeed a wide AM variety, a genuine rarity hiding in plain sight. The man smiled and said he would never sell it. "It's my reminder," he said, "that luck doesn't always look shiny when you find it." Moments like that revealed the true magic of the 2001 cent coin. It's not about owning the rarest piece, it's about the story of finding it. Each coin is a mirror reflecting its discoverer's patience, curiosity, and persistence. Every scratch, every spot of toning becomes part of that personal journey. The coin may be metal, but the meaning is human. The artistry of the Lincoln cent continues to fascinate even beyond rarity. The portrait by Victor David Brenner, first struck in 1909, has endured longer than any other design in American coinage. Over 100 years later, it still carries quiet dignity. On the 2000 issue, that portrait looks both familiar and eternal, a bridge between the early 20th century and the dawn of the 21st. Brenner could never have imagined that his humble cent would become a vessel for a story worth millions. Yet that's the magic of legacy. Once an idea leaves your hands, it grows beyond your control. Collectors often describe coins like this as time travelers. They survive wars, recessions, technology shifts, and social changes, yet their form remains constant. They pass through countless hands but never lose identity. The 2000 penny has now entered that class of time travelers, a small, enduring piece of a vast narrative. It has outlasted the era of physical cash's dominance, survived the rise of digital currency, and still manages to command reverence. In an age when value is mostly invisible, numbers and screens, balances and apps, the solid weight of a coin reminds us that history still has texture. The psychology of collecting adds another layer to its allure. To collect is to assert meaning against chaos. The world moves fast, unpredictable, and often impersonal, but a collection brings order. Each coin, carefully catalogued and protected, becomes a victory over entropy. When you hold a 2000 wide AM penny, you're holding proof that precision and patience still matter. It's not just about ownership, it's about identity, about being the kind of person who notices what others overlook. Economists might laugh at the idea of a penny being worth millions, but they miss the point. The true economy of coins isn't built on supply and demand alone, it's built on emotion. Demand is driven by desire, and desire is infinite. The 2000 penny represents that infinite side of human longing, the need to find significance in small things. That's why no logic can erase it, no new currency can replace it. Its value lives in the imagination, and imagination has no ceiling. Even today, the story continues. Each year, new collectors enter the world, and the legend is passed down like a secret code. Parents teach children to check their change, to look closely at the details, to see that nothing is too small to matter. Somewhere in that process, the penny becomes more than metal, it becomes a teacher. It whispers the old lesson that the universe still hides beauty where you least expect it. And maybe, just maybe, out there in a jar or an attic box, another undiscovered 2000 wide AM still waits, quiet, unassuming, coated in dust, holding a dream in copper. The thought of that keeps people searching. It keeps hope alive. Because in the end, that's what this coin really gives the world, not money, but meaning. Here comes a point when an object stops being an object and turns into a symbol. That's what happened to the 2000 USA 1-cent coin. It began as metal, struck by machines, mass-produced without thought. But over time, through whispers and discoveries, it became a story, one that refuses to fade. Every generation has its own treasure hunt, and for millions of people, this coin became that chase, a small reminder that the universe still allows miracles to happen in the folds of ordinary life. People began to see it not just as money, but as a message. A message that said, "Look closer. The extraordinary hides in plain sight." That idea captured imaginations far beyond coin collecting. Teachers used it as a metaphor in classrooms. Motivational speakers told the story of the $85 million penny as a lesson in persistence and faith. Even artists began incorporating the image of the Lincoln cent into paintings, sculptures, and digital art, exploring the irony of how something so common could embody limitless value. The penny transformed from currency into culture, from an artifact of commerce into a mirror reflecting human wonder. In that transformation lies one of the most powerful truths about value. It isn't always measured by numbers. The market might list the coin at thousands, but its emotional price is immeasurable. When someone holds it for the first time, they feel more than metal. They feel history, luck, and the thrill of discovery all at once. It's as if the coin radiates the energy of every hand it's passed through, every dream it's sparked, every eye that's searched for it. The year 2000 already carried a kind of magic. It was the first year of a new millennium, a clean slate, a threshold between past and future. Everything about that year felt significant. People feared the Y2K bug, hoped for transformation, and imagined the future would be different. And in the middle of that hopeful uncertainty, the U.S. Mint produced billions of copper-plated zinc cents, tiny anchors to a moment when the world held its breath. The 2000 penny, especially the rare wide AM variant, became an accidental time capsule of that millennial tension, part nostalgia, part new beginning. Imagine the journey of a single coin. Freshly struck, gleaming under factory lights, sliding down metal chutes into bags marked U.S. Mint. Then loaded onto trucks, shipped across states, delivered to banks. From there, maybe it went to a cash register in a small-town diner. Maybe a child used it to buy candy. Maybe it lay forgotten in a drawer for 20 years. And yet, through all that, it remained untouched, its secret difference waiting patiently to be discovered. That's the quiet poetry of the penny. It doesn't reveal itself until the right eyes find it. Collectors often say that coins choose their owners. It sounds mystical, but when you hear enough stories, you start to believe it. There are endless tales of people finding rare coins at impossible moments, on birthdays, after losses, during chance encounters. The 2000 penny has a reputation for appearing just when someone needs a spark of luck. Whether that's coincidence or destiny doesn't matter. What matters is the feeling it brings, that the world still holds magic if you're willing to see it, and perhaps that's why its legend keeps growing. Every article written, every video made, Every rumor shared breathes new life into the story. Some claim that the most pristine examples are hidden away in private collections, locked in temperature-controlled vaults. Others whisper of ungraded specimens still out there in circulation, waiting in a handful of change to shock the next finder. That mystery keeps hearts racing, because as long as something might still be out there, hope never dies. In the rare coin market, this kind of hope drives entire economies. Auction houses thrive on anticipation, on stories that turn objects into myths. When a 2,000 wide AM appears at auction, the room shifts. It's not just collectors bidding, it's dreamers. They aren't buying copper, they're buying narrative, legacy, emotion. The bidding starts low, but soon the numbers rise, carried by adrenaline and desire. Each click of the auctioneer's hammer echoes like a heartbeat, and when the final bid lands, silence falls before applause. The coin is lifted under bright light, cameras flash, and in that moment, everyone in the room knows they've witnessed something beyond commerce. The truth is, the coin doesn't need the market to be valuable. It's already priceless because of what it represents. It stands for the persistence of small things, for the idea that value can emerge from anywhere. It's a quiet protest against a world obsessed with size, speed, and spectacle. The 2,000 penny whispers the opposite truth, that greatness can be tiny, still, and almost invisible, yet last forever. There's a strange comfort in that idea. As technology advances and money becomes digital, physical coins are slowly disappearing. Yet, the story of the 2,000 penny ensures that at least one small piece of metal will remain immortal. Future generations might never use cash again, but they'll still tell this story, the legend of the coin that defied logic and turned into a symbol of hope. Imagine a museum in the year 2100. Behind glass, under soft lights, sits a single 2001-cent coin, labeled as one of the most famous pennies in history. Tourists lean in close, studying its smooth surface, reading about how something so small once inspired millions. Children press their faces to the glass, imagining what it must have felt like to hold one in hand. And somewhere, in a quiet corner, an old collector smiles, knowing that the story was never about the money. It was about the wonder. That's the real gift of the 2000 USA cent. It turns the act of noticing into a treasure hunt. It teaches that no moment is too small, no detail too trivial, no object too humble to matter. It makes people care about things again. And in a world where attention has become the rarest currency, that's worth more than $85 million. So when you next pick up a penny, any penny, look closer. It might not be the one, but it carries the same spirit. Each coin is a small reminder of how much meaning the human heart can assign to metal. Every glint of copper in the light is an echo of the legend, the tale of a cent that became a century's worth of fascination. And perhaps that's the final irony. The 2000 penny began as one of the cheapest things a country could make, yet it became one of the richest stories ever told. The world may move on, economies may evolve, but the story of that coin, the spark it ignited, the hope it carried, will never truly fade. Now pause for a moment, and think about the coins you've touched in your life. How many times have you held a penny, turned it between your fingers, and never really looked at it? How many times have you tossed one aside, thinking it was worthless? And yet, somewhere out there, a coin that looks just like that could be worth more than houses, cars, and entire fortunes combined. That's the mystery that makes the 2001-cent coin so captivating. It hides in plain sight, daring you to pay attention. What if the next coin you pick up is the one? What if the handful of change sitting on your desk right now holds a piece of American history that could rewrite your story? It sounds unbelievable, but that's exactly what makes it exciting. Because this legend isn't just about collectors or auctions, it's about you, about anyone who still believes in possibility. Every time you look closely at a penny, you join that story. So go ahead, grab a magnifying glass, dig into your coin jar, and start searching. Look at the spacing between the A and the M in America. Look at the details of Lincoln's coat, the sharpness of the memorial lines, the condition of the surface. You might think you're just looking at metal, but you're really looking into time itself. You're peering into a small, copper window that connects the present with the past. The thrill isn't just in finding something valuable, it's in rediscovering curiosity. Remember how it felt as a kid to believe that the world was full of hidden treasures. That feeling still exists, buried somewhere inside, waiting for moments like this. That's what makes this story so powerful. It brings that feeling back. You don't need to be an expert. You don't need fancy tools or expensive guides. You just need eyes that see, and patience that listens. Because the 2,000 penny rewards those who take the time to notice. Somewhere in the world, another person right now might be holding that same coin, unaware of what they possess. Maybe tomorrow, it will be you, and even if you never find one, the act of searching connects you to millions of others who are looking too: collectors, dreamers, families, kids, grandparents. People from every walk of life, all united by the same hope. That's the real treasure, the connection, the shared curiosity, the reminder that wonder doesn't belong to the rich or powerful. It belongs to anyone willing to look closer. So the next time a penny crosses your palm, don't ignore it. Study it. Feel the texture, see the light catch its surface. Think of the minting presses of Philadelphia and Denver, the millions of coins that rolled into circulation, and the handful that became legends. Think of Lincoln, whose portrait still gazes across time, reminding you that greatness often begins small. If you've ever doubted that the smallest things can change your life, this coin is proof that they can. A fraction of an inch, a tiny design difference, and suddenly, a 1-cent piece becomes a treasure that the world talks about for decades. That's the magic of paying attention. So tell your friends, tell your family, start your own hunt. Check your change from the grocery store, the coffee shop, the vending machine. The next time you see a 2,000 penny, don't walk away. Hold it up to the light, and let your imagination wander. What if this is the one? What if the universe tucked a miracle right into your pocket, waiting for you to notice? That thought alone, that infinite possibility hiding inside something so small, is what keeps the legend alive. And maybe that's the real reason the story of the 2000 USA 1-cent coin will never end. Because as long as someone, somewhere, believes in hidden miracles, the hunt will always go on. And now, as the story circles back to where it began, take one last look at that tiny copper coin, 1 cent, one spark of history, one fragment of a nation's memory. It sits quietly, unassuming, yet inside it lives a century's worth of craftsmanship, chance, and human wonder. The 2000 USA 1-cent coin isn't just a piece of currency. It's a reminder of how even the smallest creations can carry the weight of greatness. It's proof that value doesn't need to shout, sometimes it whispers, waiting for the right person to listen. Think of all the hands this coin has touched. From the workers at the mint who first saw it gleam beneath the press, to the cashiers who counted it, to the children who collected it, to the dreamers who searched for it under magnifying glasses late at night. Every fingerprint, every moment of contact added a chapter to its journey. It passed through generations, through stories, through lives, quietly collecting the invisible history of human hope. That's what gives it power, not just the $85 million myth, but the meaning behind it. Because in truth, this coin's real worth can't be measured in money. Its value lies in what it awakens in us: curiosity, patience, belief. It reminds us that treasure doesn't always glitter, that luck often hides in the overlooked corners of the ordinary. It teaches that miracles are not just for the chosen few, they wait for anyone willing to see the world differently. Somewhere right now, another person might be holding a 2,000 penny without realizing what they have. Maybe it's resting in a drawer, in a jar, in a dusty box. Maybe it's already passed through 1,000 hands and is waiting for yours next. That possibility is what makes this legend eternal. It's not finished. The story continues every time someone looks closer. Every time someone believes. And when you think about it, that's the beautiful irony. A coin created to represent the smallest unit of money has come to symbolize one of the greatest lessons of all: that significance isn't determined by size. Greatness can exist in the tiniest details, in the faintest differences, in the quietest things. The world rushes to chase the big, the bold, the loud, but the 2001-cent coin stands as a soft, shining reminder that sometimes the smallest voices echo the longest. So when this video ends and you go back to your world, carry that thought with you. Look again at the things you overlook. Search for the stories hiding in your everyday life. The next miracle might not be made of copper, it might be a moment, a chance, a choice that changes everything. Because that's what this coin really represents, the endless possibility hidden inside the smallest acts of attention. Maybe you'll find one someday, a real 2000 wide AM, worth more than anyone could have imagined. Or maybe you already have, and just haven't noticed yet. Either way, the legend will stay alive through you, through everyone who still believes in wonder. That belief is what turns a coin into a story, and a story into something eternal. So hold on to that penny when you find it. Not just for its price, but for its promise. It's more than a coin. It's a reminder that every great discovery begins with a single glance, a spark of curiosity, and the courage to look again. Because in the end, that's what the 2000 USA 1-cent coin truly is, a miracle in plain sight, a whisper from history, and a timeless lesson carved into copper, that even the smallest things can carry infinite worth. And as long as someone, somewhere, still believes that a simple penny can change everything, the legend of the 2000 1-cent coin will never die.